Hello everyone, this video is to connect with all of the inner children within each and every one of us that wants to speak to us. And you say, well, I'm an adult, I don't have any inner children. What are you talking about? Well, we're multi-dimensional beings, and part of being multi-dimensional means that we have parts of ourselves that exist in different timelines. And some of those parts of ourselves that exist in different timelines hold some energetic charge that was blocked or wishes to be heard and released. And so, for example, if you were a 6-year-old child and you'd taken the time to make a beautiful painting of your dog and splattered a load of colors and put a smile and then ran up to Mum, Mum, look, I made a picture of Fido. And Mum is exhausted and she's tired and she hasn't slept and she's working a job and she's having an argument with your dad. She goes, no, I don't have time for that. That little child feels very rejected in that moment, really wanted the approval of the parent, really wanted this masterpiece to be seen by its mother, and doesn't have the ability to process the rejection or to understand that it's not personal, that mum is tired, that it's nothing to do with the child's ability to make art. We take everything personally as a child. We don't understand that nothing is isn't im- isn't personal. It's just the way a child is. It's like if something bad is going on externally, it must be my fault. If mum isn't picking me up and I'm screaming, it's my fault. If mum isn't looking or dad isn't looking at my little drawing, it's my fault. I'm not good enough. And and the children, it can be life or death. Because if a child is screaming and the mother or the father doesn't come and hold the child immediately, the child doesn't understand, oh, mum's tired, she's asleep. Oh, she'll wake up in a minute. A child doesn't understand that. It's life or death, and it's a huge terror. I'm going to die. And that huge terror can't really be processed. The brain doesn't understand the dynamics of the relationships of the parents. It's just not got the capacity to do that. And so that's just one example. And then that energy gets stored. And then we don't know why, but when we're in adulthood, there's just an anxiety, a low level anxiety, feeling that I'm not okay or I'm not enough or I need to seek approval. And it can all stem from that energy that wasn't released. And there's many incidents. And some get processed and we don't know why they get processed, and others don't get processed and they get trapped. Fast forward, you're now a 30-year-old adult driving in the car. Somebody pulls in front of you. This huge anger arises. And you think it's because somebody's pulled in front of you, when it could actually be going back and because there's trapped energy from your childhood that you're angry that mum didn't take the time to look at your painting, and you think it's because somebody's moved in front of you. It's not because somebody's moved in front of you in traffic. Huge emotions, very big emotions, are usually children's emotions. Children have life or death emotions. Adults have the capacity to understand it's not life or death. So whenever you're feeling huge emotions, know, oh, that's an inner child that is part of my multidimensional being that I need to reparent. I need to go back and hold space for that child. So don't take emotions that are big personally. Because sometimes as adults, we think, I don't want to feel that. And we just push it down. We take it personally. I don't want to feel that. That's bad to be angry. That's bad to be sad. It's bad. And and you just push it down. That's like saying to a child, go away. I don't have time to, I'm busy. So you end up re traumatizing yourself. The most traumatic thing is to not have time for these dimensions of your being that are looking for you to hold space for them. The inner child doesn't care how busy you are. It doesn't care that you have a business meeting. It doesn't care that you want to go to the gym. It doesn't care that there's a hot person you want to go on a date with. Your inner child just wants to release the emotion that's trapped. And there's an intelligence in it wanting to release it because it's draining you. And if you just release the energy, you'd have a better date, your business would go better, and you're more likely to move around in the kingdom and not blow situations up. Because there's a lot of people that are moving around in the kingdom and they're not willing to feel things. And because they're not willing to feel their emotions deeply or see the beauty that an emotion is like a beautiful flower. It's it doesn't matter if it's anger, it doesn't matter if it's hate, it doesn't matter if it's disappointment. It's a beautiful flower that's blooming now, even though it's from the past, it's blooming now, saying, if you look at me and don't see me as bad and be with me, then life's going to get so much easier and better. So we must water the flowers. We must pay attention to the inner flowers that come up. All emotions are inner flowers that need watering, and the water is our non judgmental, loving, compassionate attention. So when an emotion comes up, oh, it's flowering, it's coming up. I can just relax and be with it, and maybe tears come down come down the face. Maybe we shake and sob. Maybe there's a dialogue. We don't need to go into the dialogue. It can be nonsense. It can be, oh, my life's terrible. I hate that person. This shouldn't be happening to me. There's something wrong with. It doesn't matter what the mind says. That's nonsense. Stay in the body. Allow the flowering to happen. Relax. Know something good is happening. And when we heal our wounds, when we listen to our inner children, we heal the world because our emotions are shared. So if you dissolve some of the anger that is arising within you, the anger is dissolved in the collective. If you allow the flowering of some disappointment or rejection to be there, to not push it down, to feel it deeply as part of a human experience, you dissolve disappointment in the collective. You dissolve resentment in the collective. Everything you do for everybody else. And your inner children, they want the world to be a better place. They're very altruistic. They want the stress to be dissolved. So if we can be good parents, then the world will change. And we don't have to have children to be good parents. We can reparent the inner children that are blocked and want to come up and shout and scream and say, this happened, it wasn't fair, and this feeling is big, and I can't hold space for it. We can reparent our inner children. We're all parents. We are all parents all the time. You don't have to physically give birth to be a parent. And part of being a parent is to hold space for emotions. It's to hold space for things that maybe you don't want to hold space for as an adult. It's to maybe just slow down and to be present. Children, they just want love. They just want presence. They want attention. And don't underestimate the power of attention. We rush through life, and we never really pay attention to our inner world. Sometimes because it's uncomfortable to pay attention to our inner world. There's a lot of collective stress. Some of it gets channeled through our individual nervous system. And so it's like, it's kind of hard to be human and to have some of the shared stress coming out and to deal with all this stuff. But if we just reframe it and know that things are not black or white, good or bad, positive or negative, and that everything that arises in the body is a gift to be felt, is an opportunity for mankind to move to a new level of consciousness if it's felt. And so I really pray that we allow things to move through us freely without judging them, and we allow things such as emotions, for example, to move through other people without judging them. Because sometimes we can get pretty judgmental when we see people sad or de-stressing, that, well, they shouldn't be doing that, and they need better coping strategies, or they should push it down, and we're relieved when we're not sad. If you live life long enough, there's going to be a point where you can't contain it anymore. Either you'll have a nervous breakdown, or you'll give your emotions to somebody else who's more open so they feel it. That's a transference, and I'll do more videos on that. Because some people, if they don't have the capacity to do this work, it has to go somewhere. And so it's given into the collective, into to the people around them. And so we can end up feeling other people's feelings. And in another video, I did say we don't know where one person begins and another person ends, and that links to this. But I really, really wish that we could start healing our childhood wounds and to invite them to come up to the surface and release. And sometimes it's big, but once it's released, it's great. You'll feel so much lighter. And sometimes in therapy, if I sense that this is an important part of a person's process, I will suggest that they bring photographs of themselves when they're children. And sometimes looking into the eyes of the child can be an invitation for them to speak, because sometimes they've been shut out for so many years. The attention of looking at them, paying attention, will wake them up so that they can be released. So do not underestimate the power of inner child rearing and being there for the child now as an adult can be very, very healing to them, and they'll just kind of resolve know that everything's okay, and all of that pain can get transmuted. They can just move into the background of your psyche, and then you can get more energy, more awareness. And that's just part of the healing journey. And it's a really exciting part of the healing journey because when we reparent our inner children, we become this compassionate mother, and it opens up our heart space, and it can flood our system with tenderness towards oneself and towards all beings. If we really let go of any judgment or any pushing or any impatience or any thinking that this is silly, I don't have to do this, what nonsense is this, I shouldn't be feeling this. If we really kind of experiment with it and just go with the flow, really connect to that child, then a compassionate space can open up in our heart that was previously locked. And just through the opening in the heart space, a new world can appear, a new way of being in the world can appear, a compassionate worldview can arise, and we can look at other people that are suffering and see they're just little kids that are having tantrums, that are not being heard. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we just looked at everybody like they were little kids? Because to be honest, we don't grow up. We never really grow up. We're always innocent. We're always sensitive. We always have a beginner's mind, a creativity, wanting to have fun and just enjoying the simple things in life. We have to learn to be harsh and judgmental. A child doesn't get born being harsh and judgmental. That's something learned. And so we do need to kind of do a regression back to being children with a little update of understanding that there's the higher self and there's the inner child, and the higher self and the inner child are connected because they communicate together. The higher self will communicate to those little inner children to come up in the form of emotions in individuals so that stress in the collective and stress within the individual can be released, because the higher self has a bird's eye view and it always wants evolution, it always wants stress to be removed. So it's always scanning to see what stresses are in the physiology from the past, who needs to get rid of what, who has the capacity to get rid of what, and it will connect and direct those inner children to then come up and speak up. Speak up. It's whispering, speak up, speak up, speak up, speak up. And it is a whisper. It's not a loud, aggressive scream. And so sometimes when we meditate and we silence the daily noise about got to do this and blah, 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 then we might be able to listen to that higher perspective. Oh, oh yes, I need to do that, or I can be with this, or I hadn't thought of it that way. So our intuition can start to wake up. And so doing inner child work, and I do that with clients, and it does get great results, can start to wake up our intuition, can start to open the heart space, and when combined with meditation, can be quite profound. And I know sometimes it can get a bit conceptual. We've got the higher self and the inner child, and these are, yeah, but But we are multidimensional and there are many parts to us. We have our higher self, which is like an eagle that sees everything and how knows everything's connected. Then we have our ego that maybe is more concerned about what individuals are thinking and the idea of individuality. And we do need the ego because we're having an individual experience. And then we have our inner children, these blocked stresses. And so the blocked stresses from the inner children can affect the ego and the personality and create personality disorders. But the higher self's beyond all of that stuff anyway. The higher self's beyond, but it does communicate to the inner children. And it does hold space for the personality disorders to be there and the stress to be there, knowing it's going to change naturally in its own time. And the higher self isn't in a rush because the higher self knows that even if a person is struggling, even if a person is narcissistic, even if a person has got bipolar disorder, even if a person has schizophrenia, even if a person is very, very mentally disturbed, or even if a person just is so confused about how to figure their life out, or keeps blowing up relationships, or messing up, or repeating mistakes, even if the frustration, the energy, the trapped energy in a personality disorder, the trapped energy in a dysfunctional pattern can create almost a crescendo at some point and can get transmuted. And we never know when that's going to happen. And so nature never gives you something which isn't useful. So even a personality disorder can be useful because when it's transmuted, the energy, once it's transmuted, is great. The insights can be great. I mean, if you can extricate your way out of a narcissistic personality structure and get on the other side of that, or break through some awareness of any idea of you being an individual and others being separate to you and you needing to protect yourself, if you break through any of that, that's huge. And so people are now popping, and we never know when people are going to pop. And it's very exciting because there's a lot of this pent up energy. And as the vibration on the planet gets higher, people are just popping. People are just awakening. And people, even without meditation practices, are awakening. And so we can't ever write anybody off. You can't say, well, that person is this, has this disorder, and they're never going to change because the vibe is so high. We never know who's going to change when. And if they do change and they have had a lot of that frustrating energy, wow, they could be blasted completely into a higher state of awareness. So that's really hopeful. We don't need to hold breath and stay around if it's dangerous to be around people that maybe are not safe, but we also can hold space in our heart for the possibility that that's going to be transmuted. Because remember, our attention on what is possible creates the possibility to then transform into an outcome. And so if we just write things off, don't underestimate how powerful we are, how powerful our intention is for ourselves and other people. We have to get a space where we're hopeful, where we don't know what the solution is, but we're open to it arising in creative ways. And we don't write anyone out of, we don't throw anyone out of our heart space. And we know that nature's orchestrating and it'll all be okay. And if we just reside in that space and we're just patient then it'll be really exciting to see what unfolds for humanity. But if we just say, oh, people are never going to change, it can't be done, and that person's bad, and I'm good, but that group's bad, it just creates splitting. And we're multidimensional beings, and our dimensions are shared in everything. So we're all interconnected. So no one group cannot be doing okay while another group is doing okay. That doesn't work from a higher perspective. The group that's not doing okay is yourself. There's part of you that's not doing okay. But then you think, no, that's a bad group and they're not doing okay. No, your physiology is not just a human physiology. Your physiology is a subtle physiology that goes into everything and is connected to everything. It's connected to your clothes, it's connected to a stone, it's connected to your perceived enemy, it's connected to the sky, it's connected to the universe. There's there's an illusion that there's the other. And that might be too much to handle right now. But sometimes with meditation, you start to realize yourself in everything. And so, whatever you do to something else, you do to yourself. And so, that's why we don't want to ever throw anything out or give up on anything. Because if you're giving up on somebody else, you're giving up on yourself. So, I just pray that we all realize how interconnected we are. We all open our heart space to incorporate everything in reality, and that creative solutions arise for us to move into a new world where we can heal and where we can allow our emotions to be as big as they want to be, knowing that they will pass through and be transmuted into higher states of awareness. Thank you.